What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, November 4th, 2024, and I have an emergency update to share with you guys. Right now, it is 23:20 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we're just about 12 hours away from voting in the United States for the president and various important government seats like the U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate. Okay, the balance of power of the Senate is going to be determined tomorrow. So it's going to be a very important day, and I will be live all day and all night covering it. But before I get into some of the election news, I want to just share some concerning information coming out of the Middle East. So we've been seeing a lot of these B-52s moving over to the Middle East over the last week or so. And inside sources said that the U.S. moved 12 B-52 nuclear bombers to the Middle East. So the U.S. has about 50 B-52s that are actively deployed in our nuclear triad, and we moved 12 of those 50, which is roughly 25%. That is huge, guys, okay? In addition to those B-52s, we moved squadrons of F-22s, F-16s, and F-15s, and we now have the first official confirmation from the U.S. government, and U.S. officials told Air and Space Forces magazine that the U.S. is deploying a total of 6 B-52s and an additional squadron of F-15E Strike Eagles and more aerial refueling tankers to support those aircraft to the Middle East, okay? So U.S. officials are saying 6 B-52s, but we heard last week that they were actually moving 12. And what you're looking at here is the flight path of 2 B-52s that were sent to the Middle East. And here you can see them flying through the Straits of Gibraltar. Okay, so this was late last night, early this morning. 2 more B-52s going down to the Middle East. Okay, the U.S. is preparing for a full-scale war with Iran. They want to take out the Iranian nuclear facilities. And the latest information we have about the Iranian strike on Israel is that Iran is planning a massive and complex attack, unlike the prior attacks on Israel. So this is going to be very, very large and very complex. Possibly Iran is going to be using their proxies in Iraq, and maybe they're going to attack U.S. bases. Maybe they're going to attack oil fields. Who knows, okay? But the U.S. is moving a massive amount of firepower into the Middle East, okay? And we're hearing that GPS jamming has begun in central Israel, and the movement of IRGC assets in Iraq was recorded today. So the IRGC is a segment of the Iranian military, so they're moving weapons around in Iraq. And over the weekend, Iran confirmed that they moved ballistic missiles in 74 regions of Iraq. Now, over the weekend, Iran also tested nuclear bombs, okay? And the mainstream media is not going to tell you about that. But if you go back and watch my updates from over the weekend, the ones about the Iran testing a nuclear bomb, I go over in detail why I believe that Iran tested nuclear bombs over the weekend. And basically, if you look at the seismogram of this strange earthquake that happened Saturday, it was a 4.8 magnitude earthquake. It looks identical to the seismogram from the North Korean nuclear tests. Okay, normally a seismogram, when it records an earthquake, it kind of looks like a crescendo. You'll see that the seismogram readings gradually increase and then they gradually decrease. Okay, that's a natural earthquake on a seismogram, but these seismograms from nuclear tests, basically it's just like no readings at all, and then suddenly like one or two spikes on the seismogram, okay? And normally that doesn't happen with earthquakes. Earthquakes are kind of a long, gradual thing, and the seismogram will reflect that, okay? That long, gradual shaking of the earth that can happen as long as a minute or more. But with a nuclear test, you have that sudden spike in the readings, and then the shaking stops after that. And sometimes you'll see like two spikes, with the first spike being the initial primer charge and the second spike being the actual detonation, okay? So this is very, very concerning. Senior officials in Russia said that Israel should know that as soon as it attacks the nuclear facilities in Iran with the cooperation of the U.S., we will give Iran nuclear bombs and chemical warheads. Wow, that's what senior officials in Russia are saying. And the Jerusalem Post is reporting that the Israeli Defense Forces have raised their alert level, preparing for a potential Iranian attack. And Israeli Channel 14 is reporting that Israel is considering a preemptive strike against Iran. And this evening, North Korea launched another ballistic missile. We don't have any details about that one yet. As soon as the details are available, I will let you guys know how far this latest missile flew and what the characteristics were. But the last test was an ICBM that flew 7,000 kilometers straight up into space, which would give it a normal range of like 12,000 kilometers. Basically, they can reach anywhere in the world. So this is very serious, guys, and North Korea has put their artillery on full alert. They've also destroyed roads and bridges connecting North and South Korea. And just the other day, South Korea, Japan, and the U.S. conducted a snap drill with B-1 bombers, okay? So very serious situation. Guys, we're living in the beginning stages of World War III, okay? We just don't realize it yet. We have North Korean troops now in Ukraine fighting against Ukraine. Okay, we have Iran and Israel. We have North Korea about to attack South Korea. We have China getting ready to attack Taiwan. So we are in the beginning stages of World War III. And Western security officials say they believe that 2 incendiary devices shipped via DHL were part of a covert Russian operation that ultimately aimed to start fires aboard cargo or passenger aircraft flying to the U.S. and Canada as Russia steps up sabotage attacks against the U.S. and its allies, according to the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so very concerning. And want to just show you guys some very interesting naval activity near Estonia that's been happening today. So we have like half a dozen Nato warships near Estonia, and right now they're actually in the Gulf of Riga in Latvia. Earlier today they were in the Gulf of Finland. So this is very concerning, very unusual. Okay, here we have one NATO warship with a German flag. Looks like a German warship here. Then here's another German warship. And then here's an Estonian warship. Here's a French warship, and here's what looks to be like a Lithuanian warship. Okay, 5 warships around Latvia and Estonia tonight. Very concerning. We also have this surveillance and electronic warfare warship that was in the middle of the Danish Straits, which is very interesting. Okay, the Danish Straits allow you to access the Baltic Sea if you're coming in from the Atlantic. Okay, you have to go through the Danish Straits. It's a choke point. And recently, Russia has been sending a lot of subs through here, so this is pretty interesting. And then earlier this morning, more NATO warships near Finland here in the Gulf of Finland. Okay, Russia sends a lot of warships this way from St. Petersburg, but here you can see one German one. Here's another, I don't know what flag that is. It looks like maybe Romanian. And then here's an Estonian one. So you can see 3 of them here in the Gulf of Finland. And we had a P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter fly really low over the Norwegian Sea late last night. Now, what's significant about the Norwegian Sea is that Russia sends a lot of their warships and subs through this gap here between Greenland and Scandinavia, specifically between Iceland and Scandinavia. Okay, when the Russian warships go out into the Atlantic, or Russian subs go out into the Atlantic on patrol, they have to go through this choke point here. And so you can see this sub hunter went straight out to this area here, this choke point, to try to detect the activity of Russian subs going in and out of Murmansk, which is their Northern Fleet base, okay, in the Kola Peninsula in Russia. We also had massive reconnaissance activity over Poland again and in the Baltic Sea. Here you can see a U.S. reconnaissance plane, an RC-135 rivet joint, doing figure-8 loops off the coast of Kaliningrad, and at the same time there was a Polish border guard plane flying in the same area, and then there was also a Swedish reconnaissance plane patrolling northern and eastern Poland, okay? And I want to just turn your attention towards the election. So we have some very concerning news coming out of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The chair of a Pennsylvania county election board updated voters Monday on the status of 2,500 voter registration and mail-in ballots that had been flagged last month as potentially fraudulent, and prompted a county and statewide investigation in the crucial swing state. Speaking at a press conference, Lancaster County Commissioner Ray D'Agostino said that of the 2,500 registration and mail-in ballot applications that had been flagged as suspicious, a 57% majority had been confirmed as valid and 17% were confirmed to be fraudulent. So out of 2,500 of these suspicious voter registration and mail-in ballot applications, 17% were confirmed to be fraudulent. So that just proves to you that voter fraud is real. And Lancaster County is home of the Amish, okay? I think it has like the densest population of Amish people in the world. And we also have this strange situation in Tennessee today. A man was arrested and charged with attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction and to destroy an energy facility in Nashville, Tennessee. This is being reported by the U.S. Department of Justice. Skylar Philippi, 24, of Columbia, Tennessee, was arrested by federal agents and charged with attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction and attempting to destroy an energy facility. As charged, Skylar Philippi believed he was moments away from launching an attack on a Nashville energy facility to further his violent white supremacist ideology, but the FBI had already compromised his plot, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. As alleged, the defendant in this case conducted extensive research into explosive devices and potential targets to launch an attack against critical infrastructure, said Special Agent in Charge Joe Carrico of the FBI Nashville Field Office. Beginning in June 2024, Philippi told a confidential human source about his desire to commit a mass shooting at a YMCA facility located in or around Columbia, Tennessee. In July 2024, Philippi told another CHS about the impact of attacking large interstate substations and said that attacking several substations would shock the system, causing other substations to malfunction. Philippi researched previous attacks on electric substations and concluded that attacking with firearms would not be sufficient. Philippi therefore planned to use a drone with explosives attached to it and to fly the drone into the substation. In September 2024, Philippi drove with undercover employees of the FBI to an electric substation previously researched and targeted by Philippi, and Philippi conducted reconnaissance of the substation. While driving, Philippi ordered a plastic explosive composition known as C4 and other explosives from the undercover employees. Philippi later purchased black powder to be used in pipe bombs, which Philippi intended to use during the attack on the substation. Philippi texted to the confidential human source, "If you want to do the most damage as an accelerationist, attack high economic, high tax political zones in every metropolis," referring to the substation. Philippi stated, "Holy shh, this will go up like a effin' 4th of July firework." Philippi talked about operational security, including the need for disguises, the use of leather gloves, wearing shoes that are too big, the need to burn their clothes after the attack, and not bringing smartphones on the night of the attack. On November 2nd, 2024, that's 2 days ago, Philippi participated in a Nordic ritual which included reciting a Nordic prayer and discussing the Norse god Odin. Philippi told undercover employees that this is where the new age begins and that it was time to do something big that would be remembered in the annals of history. Wow. Philippi and the undercover employees drove to the operations site. The undercover employees moved to their assigned positions as lookouts for Philippi. Law enforcement agents arrested Philippi when he was taken into custody. Philippi was at the rear of the vehicle with the drone powered up, and the explosive device was armed and located next to the drone. Wow. So this is totally insane, guys. Absolutely insane. And going back to the election, here you can see some restaurant that was boarded up. Okay, they're boarding up windows all over the place in D.C. There's fences going up everywhere around all the federal buildings in preparation for civil unrest. We also have a hurricane that is brewing in the Caribbean. It's forecasted to go right into the Gulf and potentially hit Louisiana or Texas. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And Russia's Soyuz rocket launched in the early hours on Tuesday 2 Iranian satellites, the Kosar and Hadhad, into orbit. This marks the first time that private Iranian sector satellites have been launched, reflecting strengthened space cooperation between Moscow and Tehran. Wow, so Iran is having their rockets launched by Russia. And here we have some hurricane hunters that were active last night in the Caribbean. You can see one leaving the Caribbean and then another one immediately replacing it. So obviously the National Weather Service is very concerned about this hurricane if they're sending hurricane hunters round the clock to monitor it. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be monitoring the election live tomorrow, and I also have my 24/7 live stream ongoing right now. We did have a lot of nuclear codes transmitted earlier this morning and late last night. So something is going on, guys. Iran is planning this massive attack on Israel. The U.S. moving a quarter of their B-52s to the Middle East and multiple fighter jet squadrons. Russia is massing forces in Belarus, getting ready to invade Lithuania and Poland. We have North Korea putting their artillery on high alert. China doing snap exercises around Taiwan. So any of these areas could kick off into full-blown war at any minute. Okay, so get prepared. Make sure you have everything you need. And I will be back tomorrow for the election. And until then, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has brought back their discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithNYPrepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. But they have 3 months of freeze-dried food with a 25-year shelf life packed into rugged, watertight buckets that you can easily store in a small room for just $700 with free shipping included, and they ship very fast. Also, they're including some freebies. They're going to include a survival Bible, a 424-page survival book, an ultimate preparedness checklist, a natural disaster field guide. They also have a disaster replacement warranty, so if your food gets destroyed in a natural disaster, they will replace it for you with no cost. And also they have a 30-day return policy, no questions asked. So check out My Patriot Supply. Use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of their 3-month emergency food supply, free shipping included. And the link is in the description below this video.